Today we're going to talk about part 9 of our genetics packet. And part 9 is dealing with sex-linked traits. Now, our objective today, ladies and gentlemen, our objectives are: number 1, to be able to tell me what a sex-linked trait is. Number 2, you should be able to perform a Punnett square to work a sex-linked trait problem. And finally, you should be able to work these Punnett squares backwards to be able to tell me the possible parents that would result in one of these sex-linked traits. So let's go through a little bit of background information. We know from when we talked about karyotypes, okay, we talked about meiosis earlier in the year, that 23 chromosomes from mother, 23 chromosomes from father, total of 46, 23 pairs, right? Didn't we discuss that earlier? Absolutely. Now, we stated that there were 22 pairs, and the 23rd pair was the sex pair. The X, so to speak, and Y, or the X and the X. Now, if you are XX, okay, it says women, therefore, women have 2 alleles, both of them X's. Men, on the other hand, have an X and a Y. Now, if you remember when we talked about chromosomes and did these karyotypes, compared to the X, the Y was really, really small, right? The Y was really, really small. Well, the X has a lot more genetic information on it than the Y does. So, when we think of these sex-linked traits, we should think X-linked traits, because they are on the X chromosome. So these sex-linked traits are on the X chromosome. Now, if you notice, males only have one X, correct? So, you're going to find that these X-linked traits show up more in males than they do in females. A lot of these are recessive traits, okay? Stop and think. If you have 2 X's, in order to be recessive trait, you have to have it twice, correct? Let's say we have an X little d, X little d. Now, if you're a male and it's on the X chromosome, how many do you need to have? Only 1, because they only have 1 X chromosome. So it takes a male only 1 little d to have that specific trait. Okay? So we're going to see that males are more, have these X-linked traits more than what females do. Now, it says there in red that this is clearly a violation of Mendel's principle of unit characteristics. All that is, Mendel's principle of unit characteristics says that each parent gives you 1 set of alleles. Well, how's that a violation? Well, there's certain alleles on the X chromosome that aren't on the Y, are they? So you're not getting those alleles on the Y. Okay, that's what the violation is. Now, it says here, in fruit flies. Okay, here's our first example. In fruit flies, the gene for eye color is carried on the X chromosome. which is a sex chromosome. So this is a sex-linked trait. The allele for red eyes, capital R, is dominant for the allele for white eyes, lowercase r. So if a white-eyed female fruit fly is mated with a red-eye male fruit fly, predict the possible offspring. Now, what we're going to do is you've already put this in your notes, okay? So we're going to look at steps, and it'll be in your notes, but I'm going to talk about it here. Since the female has white eyes, right? And white eyes are recessive, correct? We are going to write the female's genotype as, first of all, if it's a female, what is it? XX, right? So we have two X's, but with those X's, we're going to put lowercase r's. Because in order to be a white eye, she has to be homozygous recessive, correct? Now, the male is red-eyed and only has one X chromosome. Therefore, he has only one allele for eye color. Therefore, the male is an XY, but we put that capital R in there. So the male is X capital R Y, meaning it has red eyes. The female is X lowercase r, X lowercase r. And we write those kind of like an exponent. Okay? Kind of like we would write an exponent. That's how we write those. So that's step one. What are the parents? Okay? Now they did these a little bit different on yours. I like to do mine as exponents. They have them showing as subscripts. Okay? So I guess I'll accept either way you do them, whether it's an exponent or a subscript. But do you see how the male and the female look with their genotypes right there? Now the third one, step 3, says for a Punnett square. So I'm just going to set this up. I'm going to draw in my Punnett square. We're only dealing with one trait. We're only dealing with one trait, so I'm only going to use a 4 box here. I'm going to put the father up on top, X capital R Y. I'm going to put the mother on the side, and then I'm going to work the square. So I have X capital R, X lowercase r, X capital R, X lowercase r, X lowercase r, Y, X lowercase r, Y. So, as I look at these, right, as I look at these, in my first box right here, I have a red-eyed female, correct? In my second box right here, I have a white-eyed male. In my third box, I have a red-eyed female. And in my fourth box, I have a white-eyed male. So, when I come down to the genotypic ratios, okay, 1/2 are X capital R, X lowercase r, right? Am I reading that right? Okay. Second one is 1/2 are also X lowercase r, Y. Okay, I believe you need to write that right on your interactive notebook, right? Page 36, is it? 34? Okay. Page 34. Now, finally, it says, what is the probability? Okay, actually, no, I'm working ahead. What is the phenotypic ratio? Okay, what is the phenotypic ratio? Well, 1/2 are white, I female, and 1/2 are, wait. Check, right? That's wrong. They are red-eyed, female, white-eyed, male. Would we agree? No, it's not terribly tough, is it? Just a single trait. We're just throwing in those X and Y's added with them. So there are a couple more things we have to take into account. Let's now look at number 2 here, which is actually question number 1. This should be on page 34 of your interactive notebook, correct? It says that hemophilia is a sex-linked trait. A person with hemophilia is lacking certain proteins that are necessary for normal blood clotting. Hemophilia is caused by a recessive allele, so use capital N for normal, lowercase n for hemophilia. Since hemophilia is sex-linked, remember, a woman will have 2 alleles. Therefore, they will be X capital N, X capital N. Could be X capital N, X lowercase n, or X lowercase n, X lowercase n. A man will only have 1 X allele, so it'll be X capital NY or X lowercase n, Y. Our question states, a woman who is heterozygous, which we call a carrier, okay? We're going to need that carrier bit when we talk about pedigrees next week. A woman who is heterozygous, a carrier for hemophilia, marries a normal man, if there's any such thing. That was a joke. Come on. Okay. That was a joke. I'm a pretty normal man. All right. So, a woman who is heterozygous. So, genotypes of the parents, X, capital N, X, lowercase n. So that is a carrier. She carries the hemophilia on her second X. We cross this with a normal man. So he is X capital N Y. So those are my 2 genotypes for part A there. Make a Punnett square for the cross? Absolutely I will. Once again, we're only talking about 1 trait, so I need a 4 box. Put my male on top, X capital NY. Put my female on the side, X capital N, X lowercase n. When I fill out my square, it is as so, correct? Now, as I'm looking at this, box 1. Box 1 is a normal female, right? Box 2 is a normal male. Box 3 is a female that's a carrier. She's normal, but she's a carrier, right? And box 4 is a male that has hemophilia. Okay? So, when I get the questions here now. First one, what is the probability that a male offspring will have hemophilia? Now, look at that. It says, you got to be careful. We're only talking about males. So, a male will have hemophilia is what? 1/2. There's a 50-50 shot that a male will have hemophilia. What is the probability of having a hemophiliac female? Look up here. What's the probability of a hemophiliac female? None. There is no chance that those two parents could have a female with hemophilia. Questions about that? We give me thumbs up. We okay so far? Okay, front row, let me see them. Front row, we good? Back row, we good? Middle row, we good? Is that a thumbs up or is that a, okay? Okay. All right. Couple more here. We're running out of time, so we got to make waves here. Can a colorblind female have a son that has normal vision? Color blindness is caused by a sex-linked recessive allele. Now, I have to work this a little bit differently. So I set up my square, and I say, okay, it's asking me about a son, right? So the dad, we don't care what his X is, do we? We don't care what the dad's X is. It doesn't matter. Because we only want to know about a son. So we're only going to be looking at these two boxes there that are dealing with that Y. It says, can a female that is colorblind, okay? If you remember, colorblind is the recessive, right? So for a female to be colorblind, what does she have to be? 2 lowercase letters. And I believe for colorblind before, we didn't talk about colorblind, did we? Okay. Colorblind, it says to use N here. So I have X lowercase n, X lowercase n for a female with colorblind, right? So, as I translate them over, right here, can she have a son with normal vision? No. All of her sons will be colorblind. Now take this and branch it a little farther. What about her daughters? Depends what? It depends. Could they be colorblind? Yeah, but she would have to do what? Marry a colorblind male. Okay? Good. You guys are getting this. I like doing these colorblind or these X-linked ones here. Baldness. Baldness is a sex-linked trait. What parental genotypes could produce a bald woman? Okay? Obviously, we're going to need to have a man that has the gene, right? So we're going to have to, whatever the mother is, the father's got to have that gene, right? So, in order for the mom to have it, could she have a daughter that was bald if she was just a carrier? Yes. So we would have to have X capital H, X lowercase h. That would make us a bald female, wouldn't it? What if she herself was bald? Could this, marked with this same, matched with this same male, give us a bald female? Yeah, in that case, in that second case there, every single kid that they would have would be bald, wouldn't they? Wouldn't it, if we work out the square? All right, we okay with this sex-linked trait stuff? Okay.